You walk into a dealership ready to buy American, Chevy, Ford, Jeep. You've got pride in the badge, maybe even a few childhood road trip memories tied to those brands. You think you're supporting American jobs, American workers, and good old American factories. But what if I told you that SUV, truck, or sedan you're eyeing isn't American-made at all? What if it was assembled in South Korea, Mexico, Italy, Brazil, or even China? Yep, that Born in Detroit badge might have taken quite the international detour. And with brand new tariffs kicking in this year, that foreign assembly could quietly cost you thousands more before you even finish your complimentary dealership coffee. This isn't a hypothetical. This is the new reality in 2025. Let's start with SUVs. Still the best-selling vehicle category in the United States. And it's no surprise why. Today's SUVs offer versatility, tech features, and fuel economy that appeal to everyone, from first-time buyers to growing families. But as you'll see, many of the most popular American brand SUVs aren't built in America. Take the Chevy Trailblazer, for example. Reintroduced in 2021, this subcompact crossover is built at GM's Buick facility in Incheon, South Korea, alongside the Buick Encore GX. It rides on GM's global architecture and starts just under $24,000. In 2023, Chevy sold over 100,000 Trailblazers in the US, making it one of GM's top small vehicles. GM's decision to build it in South Korea reflects the factory's advanced tooling, skilled labor, and strategic shipping access. Right alongside it in the same factory is the Buick Encore GX, which launched in 2020 to replace the aging Encore. Despite Buick's shrinking sedan lineup, the Encore GX became its best-selling US model in 2023. Starting at around $26,000, it targets buyers seeking a slightly more upscale subcompact SUV. Available with a host of features, and it shares the Trailblazer's turbocharged engines, offering solid punch and fuel economy. But despite the Buick badge, this SUV still comes straight from South Korea. Then there's the Jeep Compass, a name with strong American roots. But since 2016, the Compass has been built in Toluca, Mexico, where FCA, now Stellantis, consolidated production of the Compass and the now-defunct Patriot. The Toluca plant has long been a backbone for Jeep's international strategy. The current Compass starts at around $25,900 and was recently refreshed with updated styling and tech. It may be a Jeep by brand and image, but its assembly location has remained firmly south of the border. The Jeep Renegade might be even more globally sourced. Introduced in 2015, it was developed with Fiat and built primarily in Melfi, Italy for North American customers, with additional production in Brazil and China. US models came from Italy until 2022. Starting at around $25,000, the Renegade was marketed as a compact, city-friendly SUV with Jeep DNA. It proved a Jeep could be affordable and Italian-built, though sales declined as buyers shifted to larger models like the Compass and Cherokee. Another familiar name is the Ford Edge. Since its debut in 2006, the Edge has been built in Oakville, Ontario, Canada. Ford uses the plant as a hub for its mid-size crossover strategy, also producing the Lincoln MKX and later the Nautilus. The Edge starts at around $39,000 and has remained popular with families thanks to its size and utility. But its future is uncertain. Ford is retooling the Oakville plant for EV production in 2025, and the Edge may be phased out in the US altogether. Now let's talk about the Lincoln Nautilus, Ford's luxury midsize crossover. Previously built in Oakville, Canada, production shifted to Hangzhou, China in 2024, marking Lincoln's first model imported directly from China. The move helped free up US plant capacity and streamline operations, but it came with a trade-off. Every new Nautilus now falls into the highest import tariff bracket, making it one of the most expensive vehicles for Ford to bring into the US, despite a starting MSRP of around $51,000. While the 2024 Nautilus delivers a modern, tech-focused experience, its Chinese origin puts it squarely in the tariff spotlight. And finally, the GMC Terrain. Built in San Luis Potosi, Mexico since 2017, it shares its platform with the Chevy Equinox, but offers more rugged styling and upscale trims like the Denali. Starting at near $30,000, the Terrain has remained a solid seller in the US, especially in regions like Texas and the Midwest. GM's investment in its Mexican facilities helps balance supply between domestic and global markets while keeping production costs in check. So while these SUVs wear iconic American badges, their passports tell a different story. Whether it's a Chevy or a Jeep, a Buick or a Ford, there's a good chance your all-American ride was actually assembled thousands of miles from US soil. And in 2025, that little detail might matter more than ever, especially when it shows up on your monthly payment. Now let's talk trucks, arguably the most iconic vehicle category in America. Built tough, sold by the millions, and often seen hauling everything from lumber to Little League gear. Most buyers assume that a pickup with a Ford, Chevy, or Ram badge was born and bred in the heartland. But in some cases, it may have had a passport before it had a license plate. The Ford Maverick has been one of the biggest surprises in recent years. Launched in 2021, it targeted the budget-conscious buyers wanting an affordable, fuel-efficient pickup. With a starting price under $24,000, it quickly gained popularity thanks to its compact size and versatility. The Maverick is built in Hermosillo, Mexico, a plant previously used for the Ford Fusion and Lincoln MKZ. Producing it in Mexico helped Ford keep costs low, but in 2025, it means the Maverick is subject to a 25% import tariff, pushing potential pricing above $29,000 and impacting its once unbeatable value. The Chevy Silverado 1500 is a pillar of the American truck market. While many are built in Flint and Fort Wayne, a significant number come from Silao, Mexico, a facility that's assembled Silverados since the late 90s. As of 2023, nearly a third of North American Silverados were built there, including many mid to high trim models. With base prices starting at around $36,000, a Silverado built outside the US could now cost thousands more under new tariffs, particularly for buyers financing over longer terms. The GMC Sierra 1500 shares much of its production and engineering with the Silverado. While US plants handle most base trims, Silao, Mexico builds many Denali and AT4 models due to scheduling and demand. These trims often list from the low 60s to mid 80s. GM's ability to shift production offers flexibility, but now exposes premium buyers to potential import surcharges they didn't expect. You won't find the Ram 700 in US showrooms, but it's a bestseller in Latin America. Built in Betim, Brazil, it's a compact pickup truck based on the Fiat Strada, aimed at budget-conscious buyers. With a starting price equivalent to around $18,000, the Ram 700 reflects Stellantis' focus on regional production strategies, avoiding investment in U.S. small truck manufacturing while serving global demand. Also built in Brazil, the Chevy Montana was relaunched in 2023 as a small unibody pickup for South America. It emphasizes utility and fuel efficiency and is aimed at urban buyers. Like the Ram 700, the Montana isn't sold in the US, but it's produced by an American brand for overseas markets using foreign labor and supply chains. It highlights how offshoring is still core to GM's international truck strategy. While full-size pickups like the F-150 and the Ram 1500 are still made in the US, a growing share of American brand trucks come from Mexico and Brazil. As the 2025 tariffs begin reshaping cross-border economics, trucks could be the next segment to face pricing hikes, inventory shifts, and strategic production changes. Even though sedans and coupes are no longer the dominant force in the US market they once were, there's still a strong following, and automakers continue to produce these models for specific segments of buyers. That said, many American brand sedans and coupes are no longer built in the US at all. Let's start with one of the most surprising examples, the Buick Envista. Launched in 2023, it was positioned as Buick's affordable crossover coupe, starting at around $23,500. While not a performance SUV, it impressed buyers with its upscale design and tech at a budget price. What many don't realize is that every Envista sold in the US is built in Yantai, China, at a SAIC GM facility. That decision allowed GM to scale quickly and keep prices low, but it also made the Envista a prime target under the 2025 tariffs. With a 35% tariff, a well-equipped Envista that once cost $26,000 could now top $35,000, erasing its biggest strength, affordability. The Chevy Malibu was long built in Kansas City, but U.S. production ended in 2024. While it's no longer sold here, GM still builds the Malibu in China and South Korea for overseas markets. If it returns to the U.S., expect it as a fully imported hybrid or EV, likely subject to tariffs and ineligible for federal tax credits. The Cadillac CT4 and CT5 sedans are still built in Michigan for American buyers and represent some of the last rear-wheel drive American sedans still on sale, but they're also built in Shanghai for the Chinese market through GM's partnership with SAIC. While those Chinese versions aren't sold in the US, it highlights a trend. Even premium American sedans now have parallel production overseas. The Chrysler 300, discontinued in 2023, was built in Brampton, Ontario, and known for its muscle car presence and rear-wheel drive layout. Even though it came from Canada, under the 2025 tariff structure, Canadian-built vehicles could be penalized depending on their domestic content. Though the Chevy Camaro was mostly built in Michigan, GM explored shifting production overseas before its discontinuation. Talks emerged in 2022 and 23 about replacing it with a global EV coupe, possibly shared with Cadillac or Opel. If that happens, future Camaros could be foreign-built. Looking ahead, future sedans from American brands are likely to be EVs and potentially foreign-built. Automakers are prioritizing flexible global platforms, which means nameplates like the Malibu, Impala, or the Chrysler 300 could return in electric form, but not necessarily with U.S. final assembly. Let's talk about what this really means for you. Whether you're shopping for a car, SUV, or truck in 2025, these new U.S. import tariffs aren't just political headlines, they directly affect what ends up in your driveway and how much it costs. Tariffs now apply to vehicles imported from countries like China, South Korea, Mexico, and even Canada. Depending on domestic content, rates range from 20% to 35%, applied to the full value of the vehicle, not just the parts. These added costs don't show up on the window sticker, but they raise wholesale prices by thousands. Whether or not that cost reaches you depends on the brand and the model. Take the Chevy Trailblazer, built in South Korea. It starts around $23,700, but import costs may affect its price, incentives, and dealership inventory. The Ford Maverick, built in Mexico, faces similar risks, potentially higher prices or fewer trims available. And it goes beyond the sticker price. Leasing becomes more expensive when imported vehicles lose resale value. Financing costs go up with even modest price hikes. Trade-in values can drop if your current vehicle was built in a tariffed country. Repairs and insurance may rise too, especially if key parts are imported. Even minor damage could cost more to fix. Availability is another concern. Automakers may cut trims, delay models, or reduce shipments if foreign-built vehicles become too costly. In 2023, Ford cut back on the Bronco Sport due to Mexico-based supply issues. The Maverick and Trailblazer could follow in 2025. Tariffs aren't just hitting profit margins, they're reshaping automaker strategy. Expect more investment in U.S. factories and fewer imports of models that no longer make financial sense. So before you buy, check where your vehicle was built. In 2025, that one detail could shape your monthly payment, insurance rate, and the deal you get at the lot. However, not every American brand vehicle is built overseas. In fact, some manufacturers have stayed committed to domestic production. And in 2025, that strategy is finally paying off. Let's start with the standout, Tesla. Unlike most legacy automakers, Tesla has committed to keeping virtually all its U.S. market vehicle production inside the United States. The company operates major facilities in Fremont, California and Austin, Texas, with supporting operations in Nevada and New York. Tesla's Gigafactory in Austin, also known as Giga Texas, began full production in 2022 and has since scaled rapidly. This plant produces the Model Y, Tesla's best-selling vehicle globally, and the new Cybertruck, which remains a US-built prototype despite its polarizing design and rollout. Tesla's vertical integration strategy allows it to build everything, from battery cells to power electronics to body structures in-house, reducing its exposure to supply chain shocks and foreign trade disputes. This isn't just an operational win, it's a financial one. Because Tesla's vehicles are built entirely in the US, they remain eligible for the full federal EV tax credits under the Inflation Reduction Act, unlike many competitors whose battery components or assembly take place overseas. And while some buyers may be wary of Tesla's quality control or Elon Musk's controversies, they're also recognizing a new truth. Buying a Tesla is, in many cases, the most American-made option on the market. But Tesla isn't alone. Several legacy automakers are keeping major production lines in the US, though not always across their full portfolios. Take Ford, for example. The Ford Explorer has been built in Chicago since 2011. The F-150, America's best-selling truck, is produced at Dearborn and Kansas City assembly plants. The Mustang continues to roll out of Flat Rock, Michigan. Ford has also committed billions to new EV and battery production facilities in Kentucky and Tennessee, signaling its intent to grow its U.S. manufacturing footprint. General Motors is also investing in domestic production. The Chevy Tahoe and Suburban are both built in Arlington, Texas, a plant GM has heavily modernized with automation and logistics upgrades. The Cadillac Lyriq, GM's new electric luxury crossover, is built at the Spring Hill Assembly Plant in Tennessee, and the Chevy Bolt EV, at least before its temporary discontinuation, was assembled in Michigan. Jeep, despite some models being built in Mexico and Italy, still produces two of its most iconic vehicles in the U.S. The Wrangler is built in Toledo, Ohio, and the Grand Cherokee is assembled at the Detroit Assembly Complex, a massive $1.6 billion investment from Stellantis aimed at revitalizing Detroit's automotive workforce. These U.S.-built vehicles don't just help avoid tariffs, they also preserve jobs, unlock more incentives, and help automakers sleep a little better when the trade winds start blowing in the wrong direction. So what's the takeaway? In 2025, where your car is built matters more than ever for Americans. Tariffs, pricing, and resale value all come down to one detail: final assembly. So before you buy, check the Monroney sticker. Thanks for watching. If you learned something new, or if a vehicle you drive showed up in today's video, let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, because in our next video, we're flipping the script and breaking down foreign automakers building right here in America. Brands like Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, and BMW may soon offer the best bang for your buck without crossing a border. Hit that like button if you found this helpful, and we'll see you in the next one.